The first two tracks of the season are not known for passing opportunities. And though Holland has been challenged along the way, Road America still gives his rivals new hope. The draft will be huge, there's plenty of places to overtake, and even fuel strategy opens up chances to overthrow the champion. Will David be able to handle the target on his back? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 3 of the PRL Formula 3 series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel and the iRacing Esports Network. I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Adam Young. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Road America is undoubtedly one of the fastest and most well-loved road courses in the U.S. To understand why, let's step in closer and learn more with our track guide. Welcome to Road America. Nicknamed America's National Park of Speed, it's easy to see why just by looking at how the track is laid out. Long straights are a major feature, and drivers will build up incredible momentum before they find themselves interrupted by tight 90-degree corners. In fact, for a 4-mile circuit, it has shockingly few turns. It also has little in the way of variation in layouts. The main course is only broken up once with a single chicane added in the bend version. But don't take this to mean that it's a boring track. Elevation change happens many times over a lap, with a few places taking you into corners which are quite blind. But 2 of the turns on the back half of the course are perhaps the most distinctive. One is the carousel with its more than 180-degree radius. It just feels like it never stops. The other is the kink. Terrifyingly fast with very little runoff, it can end someone's race in a flash. As you'd expect, the heavy braking zones make for some ideal overtaking spots. Turn 5 sees plenty with its downhill entry. The hurried downs can offer drivers a chance at a sneak attack if you're brave, and then Canada Corner gives you one last shot before the lap is over. It's no wonder major organizations such as IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, and the SCCA all host major races here. All in all, many drivers rate this track as the best track in North America. Many who hop in the seat and try it can quickly understand why. A lot of track to cover here. You can see it is expansive. And Adam, it's going to take a while to get around these laps, but I have a feeling these drivers will enjoy it regardless.
Yeah, and in practice they were sitting lap times, pretty close to that 2-minute mark, give or take a few seconds. As it does take a little while to get around about this nearly 4-mile layout here, 6.5 kilometers, 14 turns around this facility in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. That, when it comes to road course racing in America, this is one of the locations that people talk quite a bit about. Been open for a long time, hosted so many forms of racing in this country that it's we could sit here and talk about it all day. But here today, we got the F3s on track and looking to put on a good show. Already seeing the guys out there getting drafting work in.
Another thing we want to talk about today is our sponsor. Are you ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, backtesting, and trade simulation. Visit ninjatrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance. Big thanks to them for sponsoring this season yet again. And this season, with this being the 3rd round, now has given us a picture of how it's going to go points-wise, and well, no surprises here. It is David Holland leading the way. Now, Rod Clenard is consistent, but he doesn't seem to really have the speed so far to try and challenge David. He has had 2 podiums in these first 2 rounds, though, so he's only 13 points back. Nicholas Delp and Eric LeBlanc very, very close in a fight, along with Daniel Cranefus, who rounds out your top 5. Ever important in this series, of course, is the team's championship. Adam, that is just as valuable to our drivers, so why don't you run us down on that?
Yeah, of course, Vantage Zero and Vantage Rosso pretty much running away with the thing. Davidson Motorsport, 13 points back. Lavoie Motorsport, 29 points back, along tied right now with Rust Racing. So, very competitive out there, though. But right now, Advantage can just keep on doing what they're doing together. They're going to have a pretty good season out there.
Now, if you've never watched the Formula 3 series here for the PRL before, why don't we give you a little bit of a quick Spark Notes version, I guess you could say, of how this race goes. We are in round 3 out of 10, as we mentioned. It is a 45-minute race, and it is open setup in these cars. However, they have limited the fuel tanks compared to what the real Formula 3 cars can run. So you can expect one fuel stop during this 45-minute sprint. They have a 20 incident limit, so drivers will be disqualified if they hit that 20 incident limit, and they do get some bonus points. They're listed below that they are competing for. That will definitely come into play during this race because I was glancing through there, and that is part of what's got Holland that 13-point gap because he's gotten quite a few bonus points in these first 2 rounds. Now, if you are watching this on the iRacing Esports Network, which I would assume you are if you're watching this live, we encourage you to subscribe. It's very easy to do so. Just scroll below the video here on YouTube, and there's a big red button that says subscribe. If you haven't done so yet, click that. You won't miss a moment here on IESN. Qualifying has already got a couple laps down here during the pre-race. Greg Seitz, who is challenging in the warm-up here, Adam, against David Holland, has got the legs over him. But Greg has 2 laps. Oh, no, excuse me. Greg and David both have 1 lap, it looks like. And it's about 3/10 separating them.
Yeah, and not only that, David Holland getting ready to climb the hill here, as Greg Seitz is as well. So we'll be able to see what these guys are able to do both times here across the line. Just not close enough to each other to be able to use the draft. So Greg Seitz improves his time by about 1/10, but Holland improves it by 0.6 of a second, and he's going to move into P1.
Oof. So got a 10.5 over Greg Seitz, which isn't a lot around a long lap like this. Don't count out David Sirwa. He is currently in 3rd position, and he's about 0.4 behind Holland, but 2.5 from Greg Seitz, and definitely improved on his last lap. So he's finding a lot of speed. Raymond Day, very, very close behind, 1/100th behind David for that 3rd position. Trying to figure out where Rod is right now to see if
He's far down. He's about 12th right now, and he wasn't very far up on the boards in practice either. I think about that same 10th to 12th area.
Yeah, that is not representative of what we've seen before from Rod, so he'll probably be hustling to try and improve here. Laps take so long that you really don't get many laps to try and improve your time. A Bear, who has yet to set one, this is going to put him in 26th, I believe, 28th. And that's the last time, actually, of all the drivers who have set a time. Haven't seen Kevin Santana get out on track here in qualifying either, which is a bit surprising for him. In fact, he's not in the session right now, so he's going to have to hustle back in. It looks like he had a disconnect due to his router or something out there. That is certainly dire for him. It's going to put him under the gun to perform.
Yeah, so imagine he's working frantically on that one because with what looks to be possibly a 38-car field here tonight, you don't want to start in the back of this thing if you get your connections sorted out right at the last minute. So hopefully he's able to get back in there.
Ooh, response from Seitz, who goes quicker, and Holland has an off track. Wow. Yeah, that is what about a 0.4 improvement for Greg Seitz. So Ra is not able to improve, so he ducks it back into the pits.
Now, no one was able to get down into the 157s in practice, but there's a couple of guys flirting with it, and 2 of them were Seitz and Holland, with Holland coming in at a 58.051. So that's, I think, the challenge here for qualifying. They want to break that 57-second barrier. I think they might have a chance to do it between Seitz and Holland.
See Josh Daniels crossing the line. Also had an off track somewhere, so the 07 just stays barely inside the top 10. We've got 6 minutes left to go on the clock. Bradley Hawley coming over from the trucks last night here to the Formula 3. He's had a bit of a mixed bag so far this season. course, Crane Foos 2, you see coming across a set of time. Let's see if Abe Bear can go any quicker. He can. That's a 2:03.3. About a second and a half that he improves, but he's still 31st, unfortunately.
Seitz is starting another warm-up lap here, trying to see where Holland is, if he's actually out on track right now. There he is, going through Canada right now. And this time around, Joe, and I know we're looking at some other cars here, and that's okay. Holland actually has some drafting help on this lap, as long as it's been clean.
Yeah, he's currently working his way out of the final corner. He's being dragged behind Blackwood, and this is going to be critical up the front stretch. He's got a very good slipstream here. That'll give him a 10th or 2 alone. Let's see what this is. Oh, not quick enough. So had a mistake somewhere.
And, of course, Blackwood, his teammate there, at least they're painted identical cars. As we see some contact between Cunlard and Blackwood there. But Holland did not want to pull out from behind his teammate until the last possible second. They almost made contact coming across the start-finish line there.
Strykars crosses. So does Christopher Richards. Neither of them seem to have improved that time through. Syrah, let's see what he can do. Oh, nothing better because he had an off track. Stays in 4th place. Things have really become sort of concrete up at the front. Nobody has changed position in quite a while.
Yeah, and it still might be a little bit before we see major changes here. Looking at Paul Wildridge coming across. Didn't see if he was able to improve his time. Daniel Krafus, excuse me.
See Eric LeBlanc getting ready to finish a lap. Andy Spice, who we have on screen, also tries to improve but does not. There goes Greg Seitz, also on an out lap, it seems, judging by that lap time. LeBlanc, who sits in 7th, has a mistake somewhere out there that costs him a legitimate time. Owen McLaughlin crosses. And just a 10th off of his quickest. What about James David? He's recently moved up to 3rd. That's a change that we hadn't reported on earlier. 58.6 last time.
Almost 4/10 of a second faster than what he ran in practice. So trying to play above the weight class right now. Here comes Holland. It knocks it down by a 10th. Doesn't move him up to the pole, but...
Wow, that gets it within 6/100ths of Greg Seitz. I think we're going to have quite a battle between the 74 and the 18 during this race, judging by how close they are on pace here in qualifying. Raymond Day, who I watched, is still working on those 11/100ths to try and get faster than David Sirwa, who is sitting in 4th, and he can't seem to do it. I would have thought by now that he'd be able to find that little tiny sliver of time. David also not able to improve. Now we've got Kevin Santana back in here. I'm not sure if he's on his out lap or if he's on his fast lap. But he's coming around. Let's see if he'll set a time. This is Matt that we're watching.
I want to say I think this is his out lap that he just had, because he only got back into the session a couple minutes ago, so he's going to be pushing it to make it back across the line in time. Greg Seitz getting ready to come across the line again here.
You're correct about Santana. Didn't set a time, so this is going to be it. He'll get one lone lap to try and set a competitive time. Greg Seitz, let's see. No, that's another slow one, a 2:01.4, way off the pace for him. Let's see. I see Raymond Day going to be finishing a lap soon. The 77 is coming up to Canada corner. That's Nicholas Delp on screen, also on an out lap. Tyler Gore well down the order here. The Canadian just, and who was that off track there on the front stretch? It's one of the SRT cars. David Holland going to abandon his qualifying. He is not going to be able to take the pole because he can't come out to start another lap in time. Interesting development there. Rod Clenard also getting ready to try and improve. Day does not. Aaron Webb does not. And Clenard also not quicker. Pisano did thankfully manage to hop up there into 12th with that 59.1. About 30 seconds left now. Brett Thurman stays put. Armando Edwards coming up the hill. Ooh, Edwards to a 59.6. That's going to give him 17th.
Nice.
All right, ticking down. Is Matt going to be able to cross the line in time? It's going to be very, very close. Checkered flag comes out, and he does improve regardless. 59.4 gives him one position. Behind him, David Blackwood.
We got Santana now coming across.
59.3.
Oh, 14th. Hey, it's better where it would have been if he wouldn't be able to get back in the session. So
it's something, yeah. Spicer doesn't improve on that last one. Matthew Hall does not. Ooh, so Seitz happy with where he sits. Doesn't think he can be caught by, I think, Sroa, the only other one trying to get to the finish here.
Yeah, I think Seitz would have just been out there for bragging rights more than anything else, so trying to knock his time down a little bit more. I don't think these guys are going to be able to get to him.
So what about Tyler Gore? Currently the last driver with a time in 35th at a 2:15, which must have included a spin somewhere. That's much better. A 2.4. That moves him up to 31st. Aaron Webb, who sits in 23rd. So many cars. That's pretty much the mid-pack out here. Let's see if he can improve on that 59.9. He does. 0.3 quicker, and that jumps him to 18th.
So you still got Brett Thurman and Syrah out there here. And David just gotten off track, so I don't think, at least I'm pretty sure he gotten off track. Brett Thurman coming across. His last time, a 2 minute 1:52.
Doesn't improve it.
Actually looks like so about equaled it. It was pretty close to it.
Yep, and David, you are right, decided he's not going to come around for another one. So that's going to complete our qualifying. Let's go through our starting grid for the race. Greg Seitz has put it on pole, still looking for that first victory as he's been denied both times so far. David Holland starts next to him. Next row at James David on the inside with David Sirwa starting 4th. Raymond Day in P5. Daniel Cranefus, who's 5th in the points, is one position back here on the grid in 6th. Rod Clenard starts P7. Lionel Duprat managing 8th for him. Josh Daniels in 9th, and Eric LeBlanc rounds out to top 10.
Yeah, I just hope I'm not bad luck for Lionel Duprat here tonight. Seems like every time I'm on one of these, something happens to him. Go, get a good finish there, Lionel. Andrew Duffy coming home in 11th, and Anthony Pisano in 12th. Row 7's going to go to Nicholas Delp. Kevin Santana, who we just saw, just barely squeak in that time. Sebastian Prue will start alongside Juan Francois Matt. Owen McLaughlin and Aaron Webb will be making up row 9. Row 10 is going to go to Armando Edwards and Christopher Richards.
Trading in the dirt for the pavement, Bradley Hawley starts 21st here. Andy Spicer will be starting in 22nd with David Cristelli in P23. Paul Wildridge, 24th for him. Mike Richter, a little far down for that truck driver, starting 25th. Matthew Hall, P26, and Jay Steffi in 27th. Brett Thurman wound up in 28th, and Kyle Strykers in 29th. Then in 30th, it's Jeff Jacobson.
And they go into 31st. We will find Tyler Gore, then James LeBlanc right alongside him. Daniel Barnett, and then David Blackwood. Then following it up will be David Hubbard. Now you see Sheldon Rosenbaum there. He is not in the session right now, so that should move Don Lee up into that spot, and then Jay Felton should start shotgun on the field.
Waiting for everybody to get out here. Just about 3 more cars to line up on the grid, and then we'll get our standing start and a 45-minute race. So as Pisano and Rosenbaum are our last two. Let's see if they're in the session. Rosenbaum is not. So we're going to go all the way to the 2 minutes waiting on the grid. Everybody is out there. Clock ticks down. Lights come up. Engines rev and the green flag waves. Greg Seitz is very good off the line. Not so good for James David, who immediately falls back to fourth. David Sirois is starting to go on the attack on David Holland, who defends to the inside down into turn one. Starts to drift back to the racing line. As they get through that first corner, are we going to be clean? It causes some problems from time to time here in these open wheelers, but it's looking good so far.
Yeah, even all the way through the field and looking at turn two, looks relatively clean as well. Oh, we do got one spinner. That's James LeBlanc. He's put it around, single car incident. He's getting it back straight, but he'll move to the rear of the field.
Ooh, Holland almost had a look at Seitz down into turn 5, but Seitz is going to cover him off. Oh, and a spin from James David. Goes around, barely taps the wall, but I don't think that should cause any damage. But he's going all the way to the very back of the pack.
Yeah, that's a bad place to spin on lap one because you're waiting a while. Oh, we got major contact back there. Jeff Jacobson has tore his car apart.
Yep, he is off or out of turn 5. We'll come back to that replay later. There's a lot of action in the mid-pack with drivers trying to make moves. They are very cramped in there. But as Greg Seitz leading, you can see up at the front, ahead of David Holland, David Sirois going from 4th to 3rd at the start, and Rod Clenard inherits 5th as well.
Yeah, just Seitz and Holland. That's what we expect here for today to probably be the battle. And Sirois is doing his best to hang in there. You know, that's one thing we've talked about here at Road America before, especially in in the lower tier open wheel series, is that the draft is kind of like a restrictor plate track in an oval series. The draft can be the great equalizer. So as long as Sirois can hang out there with David Holland, he'll still be inside of Greg Seitz, I think, at this point.
Oh, well, Holland's got a very good run here. I'm not sure if Seitz will be able to retain the lead. Oh, but that's a lift, it looks like. Holland suddenly stopped his progress.
I think that told us a lot right there, Joe.
Yeah.
Gas. They're thinking fuel mileage already.
Yep. I think David Holland knows the game, which is bad news for Greg Seitz, especially if he continues to push the air. Meanwhile, you can see it spreading out until you get back to about 5th, Raymond Day. But look behind that, Cranefus under threat from Duprat. He's got to run, and then we might get 3 wide. Here comes Josh Daniels. Track is plugged up in front of it. He has to lift. There's nowhere to go. Breaking down into turn 5. Duprat on the inside. Can he manage to seal the deal with a little bit of a rude shove as Cranefus has to give way?
You know, that right there was the kind. Oh, big contact behind them. That was
Daniels,
like Joshua Daniels.
Sebastian Prue, both of them off track. Prue takes a tow.
Oh, and they're going to run into here. That was Bradley Hawley that he ended up, I can't tell. Oh, he was trying to avoid the car of Andy Spicer coming back on track. Had to take evasive action, and in the process of evasive action, ended up finding the disabled car there. I believe that was Daniels they got into.
Yeah, Spicer just had an off all on his own and lost control. You can see the parts went flying, unfortunately. So big hit for those drivers, and already getting some DNFs. As we come back live on our leaders, David Holland still clinging to the back of Seitz. Sirois, as he comes up the front stretch, like you were saying, he's clinging to that slipstream up ahead, and though he doesn't seem to have quite as much pace as those front two, this is certainly keeping him at least within the game.
Yeah, it is, and that's that right there. What we talk about, draft being kind of that great equalizer, and you're kind of.
Battle for 6th place goes in favor of Duprat. He gets it away from Kranefuss, but Kranefuss is going to come back at him. Down into turn 3. Gets it inside. That'll compromise both of them through that corner. And guess who's going to take advantage? Eric LeBlanc, if he can squeeze through, is going to have a huge run.
Is he going to do it? Is he going to try taking it?
Nope.
Nope.
Nope, he's not going to do it quite yet. Duprat, though, still has the inside. This is exactly what we saw last lap. Kranefuss to the outside, but Kranefuss now looks for the over-under, tries to get a little tricky this time. It doesn't quite work out as they crest the hill for 6th, so he settles for 7th.
Always
with
cool
Jay
to
Steffi. Sorry to interrupt. Jay Steffi in 24th in the 247 right now, turned around at a turn 5. Single car incident. Did he hit the wall? Looks like he did just barely. You see the Club West driver coming down into turn 5. He's going to lose it under braking. Unfortunately, where he's facing is blind. He can't see the cars coming until they're right there, and so he has to wait for a big opening before he can get going once again.
It's still so early in this race that, and it's a blind corner there if you're going to try to get yourself turned around. So all you can do is just wait.
Oh, Eric LeBlanc had managed to get by Duprat. Oh, but LeBlanc just made a mistake out of the final corner.
Lead Joe Seitz is getting overtaken here by Holland. Holland has a good look. He's edged him out.
And he is ahead before they even have to brake for turn 1. So, now that Greg Seitz is the follower, how is this going to change things? Apparently, David Holland not interested in staying behind the whole way, and he's only gotten about, less than 10 minutes of fuel saving there, so not on a fuel-saving strategy, because he would be staying a whole lot longer if he wanted to hang out and save some gas. Goes defensive as Greg Seitz tries to attack down into turn 5, round the outside. And he's going to stay with it. Wow, great bit of grip there for Greg Seitz. Still wheel to wheel as they come into turn 6, and finally he has to give way.
It's almost a similar battle that was going on between Clenard and Day behind these guys, but it looks like Clenard is going to take the victory on that little battle right there. But as Holland and Seitz were going at it, that allowed Thoreau to get back up into the battle here between the two of them. So he's back up into the draft of Seitz.
Yeah, about a half a second as we ride on board now. Watching from over the shoulder of the Canadian. He'll probably want them to keep battling like this just to make sure that he can not only stay in touch, but potentially maybe have an attack on one of them. Down into Canada corner. Greg Seitz not going to go for it this time. Looking farther back, we got a battle between Kranefuss and LeBlanc. This is for 6th position. Kranefuss is going to get it, but behind them, way too hot into the corner from Kevin Santana, who's been climbing up the field. He falls to 9th, but still, this is impressive. What about 6 or 7 positions up since the start?
Yeah, that sounds about right. I mean, because he ended up, we were watching it right there at the end of qualifying, and it started in 14th. So he's on a tear.
He's up 5 spots, and he might get one more, but just behind him, looks like he's got Pisano on a charge. Pisano's going to have the inside, but backs out of it. Santana can't get the run off of turn 1. Lionel Duprat safe down into 3, although very deep on the brakes there from Santana, almost getting into the gearbox of the 88.
Yeah, had to back off of it a little bit, which does not give him a good run down, through the moraine sweep here. Although, yeah, kind of in the later part of the straightaway here, he's going to be able to take the dive, going into turn 5, and he's going to clear him. Duprat's going to lose 2 positions there. He kind of gives up. He's going to do the over-under on Pisano, come back on Pisano. That'll give him the good angle here into turn 6. Will Pisano be able to fight it? Yeah, he's going to be able to hold that position on the outside. He'll end up taking the spot here totally from Lionel.
I'm surprised Santana made the corner because he nearly went off into the gravel with that. Duprat back to 10th is not safe yet because Nicholas Delp and Andrew Duffy is back there. You can see as we were riding on board with Pisano, taking a wider line down through the carousel. Can that get him the launch? He doesn't cut back in. Delp thinking about it. They come up to the kink. You don't want to go too wide through here, so they stay single file. Delp holding on to it. What have they got into Canada corner now? Looking around the outside. Duprat going to try and get back on Pisano. They break for the corner, almost get shoved off there as Pisano drifts off to the left, and he holds on to the spot.
Going up a little further in the field, Cranefist and LeBlanc have been going at it tough too. They went side by side through Canada there the last time by, and now Cranefist not going to be in a good spot to hold off LeBlanc. LeBlanc right in his draft. He's going down the straightaway here, the front straightaway, and do what he can to maybe pick up a little bit of side draft on. That's one thing I've been seeing a lot of, Joe, lately. I mean, we called a race the other night with it, and I've seen it a few, just kind of spectating some. With a side draft in a lot of these cars, and it doesn't matter the series, guys are going too aggressive at it. Don't jerk the wheel trying to get to somebody. Just get scrub off too much speed and not make it worth it. And I think that ended up costing LeBlanc right there.
We go back to 17th. Strykars is being chased by Richards, who almost gets hit by Cristelli. And the McLaughlin is at the tail of the train. Bad exit out of turn 3, so Cristelli has a run on Richards. He's to the outside, though. Once they hit turn 5, he's got to be fully ahead if he wants to try and cover him off. Richards has now been cleared, but Cristelli stays on the racing line. So give P18 now to Cristelli. Sets his sights on Strykars.
Yeah, Strykar's already picking up 2 spots on this lap already, getting around Cristelli and Richards. Cristelli's really just wanting to come back to Strykar's, get his spot back, and he be the one in 17th.
Let's stay here, but just an update. Sirwa, up in 3rd, has fallen away from sights by a big gap. It's 1.5 seconds currently. So he has not been able to keep up with the top 2. So we look back from Strykar's SRT machine. They come out of the carousel, and he's broken a good bit of the draft here, so I can't imagine Cristelli will be picking him up too quickly. Oh, something happened to Cranefoos. Oh, he's in the wall down at Canada corner. And he's falling down the order.
Oh, he's damaged. He's damaged bad. He might be done here. It just lost it under braking.
And Eric LeBlanc has a good view of the incident. So we've Cranefoos, of course, as we're going to see from LeBlanc's view.
And actually, what you'll see here from LeBlanc's view, it was when we rewind it here, it wasn't under braking necessarily. Cranefoos actually made a mistake and put a wheel off in the grass and came around on him.
It was in Canada corner that this happened, so we need to back up a little bit here.
There we go.
Wow, great avoidance from LeBlanc. Yeah. You don't usually want to see the front of the helmet of the other car.
Man, that was just great awareness there by LeBlanc to just be able to, that's the thing with these F3 machines is that if you get on the brake too much, they'll snap around on you. The wheels like to lock up. So great job by LeBlanc by not spinning out himself in a panic whenever he started seeing Cranefoos' nose right in front of his nose.
Oh, we had a problem with James LeBlanc, and I think he's pretty damaged here. Oh, no, maybe not. He just had an off on his own. The way he was wobbling around trying to get back to the track, thought maybe he had hit something. We've come back to the top 2, though. I mentioned that gap, and you can see now just how big it is between themselves and 19. But it stayed within half a second between Holland and Seitz. Window should be opening soon too.
Yeah, and if you're Holland and Seitz, you're probably going to be coming in the later part of the pit window, I'd imagine. Especially now that you're kind of separating Sirot out from between the two of you, and you can settle it amongst yourselves.
Battle behind them. Looks like Delp got past Duffy, but this straight is so long, Adam, he's going to get a little bit of a ride back. Duffy might be able to get this spot right back with the slipstream. Both of them giving a double punch in the air to Edwards behind, so he rocks up to the gearbox of those two cars. Duffy goes in awful deep, and that compromises his corner exit. Delp now going for another repeat pass. He pokes his nose in, brakes a little early, though, and lets Duffy have it for at least a little bit.
These guys are weaving and bobbing and diving. Great battle here between Duffy, Delp, and Pratt. And now Duffy taking advantage of the Road America Straight here and how long it is in the uphill part there. And the guy that really took advantage of it, though, is Edwards. You mentioned him using that double punch. Well, he really used it that time by. He's going to be right underneath the rear wing of Edwards here going through one.
Literally.
I'm looking backwards. Sorry about that, Joe. But it still doesn't matter. Oh, Strykar's here.
Yeah, I think he had some contact. Oh, looks like he got hit from behind by Cristelli as he was fighting side by side with Matt. So he was focusing to his left side, and then suddenly the car behind him just picks up the rear of his car and turns him around. Watch this from above. That has got to be frustrating for Kyle.
Yeah, and that was Cristelli, who we've seen out there here today. He was trying to have a good run. He was up 7 spots, and just kind of a little bit of an error under braking caused him to get in the back there. Strykart.
Speaking of a driver moving up spots, we've had so much action we haven't been able to cover that Kevin Santana has continued picking him off. The 666 is in 6th place. He just passed LeBlanc on this lap. As you see, David Holland has set the fastest lap there up at the top of your screen. But Santana is flying. He's got 5 seconds to make up to Clenard, so he's got a ways to go for the next one. But I wouldn't put it past him that he could maybe do something to go even farther up the order here.
Well, this will be the first time this entire race where he's probably going to have a couple of laps in totally clean air before he catches Clenard. So now will be when we get to see what Kevin Santana can really do as far as speed. Now he has a few laps under his belt because he really didn't get a chance to practice, and he barely squeaked in a qualifying lap thanks to his connection issues right before we went green.
Here comes Duffy on Delp. Delp defends to the inside of turn 5. Duffy going to try and find the grip, but there is just not enough as he outbrakes himself into the corner. That's going to allow Delp to hold on to 10th. Just behind them, Armando Edwards. We keep talking about him. Oh, as dipping wheels off into the grass goes Duffy. And that costs him a few tenths. They all split up, and they get a little bit of breathing space. Coming now into the carousel. Duffy didn't fall back enough to lose the draft here. But he's sliding wide off the late apex of that long corner. And that certainly won't help him get the run that he needs. Down into Canada corner. He gains, but he runs out of straightaway. So Duffy stays in 11th place. We haven't talked about it yet, but the temperatures aren't really playing well to the drivers out there today. It's 102 degrees Fahrenheit on the track, and it's relatively windy too on a downforce car. So that's got to be part of why we're seeing maybe drivers struggle a bit today.
Yeah, I thought this was Wisconsin in April. The simulation standard time or whatever is it's April 1st at 2:05 in the afternoon. We're sitting at 81 degrees with a track temp of 102. So
there's
there you go.
Fool's Day.
Okay.
Just everybody thought it would be cool.
All the times I spent up in Wisconsin in college and all that, we would have killed for an 80-degree day on April 1st.
Meanwhile, battle on screen down into turn 3. That's Hall and Hall and Matt rather. Right on board with the New Yorker. He's got a great run. We've seen this a lot where a driver defends down into turn 5. This is a much better run for Hall, though. He's got a nose ahead, and he's actually fully clear. He's clean on the brakes. The 912 claims 13th. With that, oh, or does he? Big bobble off of the corner. Matt looks to the inside. He's going to get his nose in, and he's going to get that right back. Or will he? Whoa! Around the outside of 7. My goodness.
I mean, when you gotta go, you gotta go.
Well, that certainly checks them up. Oh, and who was that slow?
That was Owen McLaughlin.
Yeah, just had a goof out of turn 8 there and lost control.
I think he had a goof as in change underwear moment because he thought he was heading toward the concrete wall, but he got grip right at the right time to avoid it. Lost all that track position in the ground, though, but he still has a race car.
Yeah, I guess that's the important bit here.
So we got Richards and
for 13th
Thurman.
Continue. Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying Richards and Thurman had a good over-under battle going there. They're still working to settle it here, heading toward turn 14 with Richards coming back on Thurman. And I think that one's going to get settled here. Richards kind of falling back now. So, of course, just as soon as we go to it, it's going to fall apart.
Oh, and I think James LeBlanc actually finally hit something. Oh, yes, he did. He hit hard. The 007 lost some pieces along the way. On the replay. This actually, wow, if you want a good onboard, Bradley Hawley unfortunately came upon those parts flying across the track, and those can damage the car. Oh, well, on my screen they went across the track. I guess on a director's they did not, so must have, I don't know whose view he got, but on mine it certainly looked pretty scary for Hawley. Just barely after the incident here. Here we go. Comes around the corner. Suddenly there's a car. Yeah, on our director's screen, it looks like it was a little less scary. Still getting used to some of the quirks of the new damage model here for commentating, as we don't get too many of them since there's not as many cars that are running it yet.
If it makes you feel better, Joe, I saw what Sean saw.
Okay.
So
well, it doesn't make me feel better
I'm Team Sean. I'm Team Sean right now.
There we go. I'll let you commentate then on what the parts are doing. Just watch David Holland. Wow, David Holland's starting to stretch away from sights here. Look at the gap.
LeBlanc has a problem. LeBlanc lost it coming out of Canada. He hit the gravel on the way out, and this is one of those quirks of the new damage model. I mean, I saw wheels fly off and wings fly off, but it snapped back into place, and now it's just his left front just wants to shake itself off the car. And he's done.
It happens on your screen too, and it happened on my screen. But he's going to have to come into the pits. They have no spare car in this series, unfortunately. We do have some takers for scheduled stops.
And I was going to say, while we've been watching all that, Holland has been starting to gap a little bit on sights here.
Yeah, I just mentioned that before we went to the incident. This is Richards in the pits, Brett Thurman, Owen McLaughlin also taking fuel, I assume, maybe tires. That's actually been a bit of a toss-up. Some drivers take them, some haven't. They're on the new tire model here. Even though they've got tire warmers on them, they're still a little bit cool when you get going. So back and out, Richards leads Thurman after the stop. McLaughlin the third in the train. Front of the field really starting to separate. But all this calm that we're starting to get in the mid-pack finally, I think gives us a chance to look at Clenard and Santana and their lap times, because we wondered about that earlier. Yeah. Let's check out the 24 and the 666 in a comparison here and see what we've got between them. Because it does look like Santana's gaining a little bit. Is this big chunks or little chunks? Itty bitty little chunks, look at that. Other than lap 7, though. Half a second quicker right there.
Yeah, I think now it's just going to be a question with, 21 minutes left in this race. If it's little chunks, will he have enough time? Clenard and Santana coming down.
Same thing with Day. I think we're getting to the end of the pit window here. Holland and Seitz stay out. Looks like Delp also pits. Duffy stays out. Bit of a split strategy on whether drivers could make it that one more lap. Serrois pits. Ooh, I don't think he took tires because it was a very fast stop for him. Day is gone. Clenard is out. Oh, and Santana's out ahead of Clenard. Clenard must be getting damage repaired. He's in long.
I didn't see any damage on his car. That's... Oh, man.
Maybe the under tray?
Maybe. He's still there.
It's not a penalty because he's in very, very long. Gotta be fixing something. Well, that is just unfortunate for the 24 with the consistency that he's had so far this season.
He's
definitely not going to get a podium this time.
Yeah, that's going to hurt him.
7 seconds. Ouch. He comes out in 22nd. Granted, there's a few cars that do need to pit. I don't think he's going to get those positions, though, from those drivers that are still out. So our leaders, well, 1 is in, Holland, and 2 are in. Seitz follows. Long ways back to the next driver, which is Pisano. Serrois, who's been running in 3rd, should move back into that position as he's been unchallenged.
How about a little bit of a gaggle here? Matthew Hall, James David, Aaron Webb, Kyle Streichart. They were just all over the place between the group of them here just a minute ago.
You see them on screen. This is a battle for 14th. I'm keeping half an eye on the leaders as well to see if there's any change in the pit stops between them. There is none. Holland is out first. Seitz with a much longer stop, though. Meanwhile, on screen, this battle heating up as they come down into Canada corner. David, not quite close enough to attack Hall, but behind them, Webb and Streichart side by side.
Able to stay side by side on the exit of Canada. And yeah, now they're going to head to Bill Mitchell here, or through Bill Mitchell. Now they're going through the last corner, up the Road America straight in the hill.
Looks like Streichart comes out on top. Webb has McLaughlin with a big run behind him. McLaughlin's seeing if he can gain 16th spot because we had a bunch more drivers come in and pit. And despite the tow, Owen not quite quick enough in a straight line. After all was said and done, where is Rod? He's 20th now that the drivers ahead of him have pitted. Now, if I recall correctly, they have 2 drop weeks in this series, I believe, or is it 1? I need to double check the rules here.
I can tell you with the trucks, I believe we have 1. So if it's the same
in each series, yeah.
Yeah, if it's the same.
Bernard's got 1 spot back. Still, unless he has a wreck later on in the season, this might wind up being his drop week. It's 19th now for him. Still a horrible spot. Aaron Webb, we were watching earlier with Streichart and McLaughlin, still close to one another. Webb P15. They come out of the carousel down into the kettle bottoms. They've all spread apart, though, at this point, as fierce as this was just a lap ago. Great run out of the kink for Kyle Streichart. Good enough that he's going to be able to get his nose in as he tries to take the apex away. He does down through Canada corner. We're going to go side by side all over again. It's a repeat of last lap around Bill Mitchell bend. Streichart just a little bit ahead Now he's got the inside, but it's the launch off the corner that you want. Webb knows that. He goes for it, and he immediately gets it. He doesn't even need the slipstream. He's already beside Strykars.
Yeah, and that's just going to punch a big hole in the air for Owen McLaughlin behind them. I don't think he's going to be close enough to maybe try to make a play on either of these two before they get into turn one, but he's definitely keeping up with them right now.
Very smart driving from Aaron Webb, but I don't think it's going to get him the position quite yet. Still side by side through the first corner. Webb's got a nose ahead, and he's got the inside line. Strykars now looks for the same move, backs it up, tries to get the launch off the turn. Not quite as good as what we saw from Webb, but still, he's on the slipstream. We're riding on board with McLaughlin. There you see Strykars dip to the right side in the green and white car. The blue and white of Aaron Webb still defending as they come down into turn 5. Webb deep on the brakes. And still they're side by side. Neither driver willing to give way.
Yeah, now that move paid off big time for Aaron Webb, because I mean, that's a double left-hander there, but going through 5 and 6, so he was able to keep himself in a good position there through both directions. But now Strykart trying to come back through the hurry downs into turn 8.
And this is backing them up quite a bit. McLaughlin joined by Cristelli and Daniels. Daniels is a lap down, so he's not in this 4 position. By the way, Santana, ever since Clenard fell by the wayside, Santana still chasing Day and is very close at about 3.5 seconds. So he could find himself still yet another spot.
And they were fairly comparable on lap times before the pit stop, so it'll be interesting. But I will tell you that ever since Santana got the clean air, every single one of his laps, except for, of course, the pit in and pit out, every single one of his laps have been in the 59s.
Great consistency there. As we check in on Santana real quick to get him some screen time. I know we just left it, but Aaron Webb is actually going to be under attack from Strykars yet again. Strykars has got the outside. He got a good run up the hill. This time, no side-by-side. He gets it done cleanly. And behind them, Cristelli overtakes McLaughlin. So, your order now, Strykars in 15th, Webb in 16th, Cristelli 17th, and McLaughlin in 18th. Both of them straightforward passes, so don't need a replay there. Edwards and Matt, though, just swapped positions in 10th. Of course, Brett Thurman chasing behind them. He's been around these two for quite a while, but now that Edwards has gotten by Thurman, he's seen what he can do to try and take on Matt. Oh, way wide down through the carousel on the exit for Edwards, just when he needs a good run on the backstretch here.
Yeah, it's amazing just how much with the carousel where you can gain or lose. It's really easy, and it's kind of misleading how much you can.
Dicey move there, late defense from Edwards. He was very shallow into Canada corner. Thurman can't take advantage of it. We're still looking over Thurman's shoulder, and he doesn't have a good run through Bill Mitchell Bend, so Edward pulls away. Down to 12 minutes left to go. Oh, Webb off track. Oh, no, and Webb runs into Don Lee, both of them making contact. Let's see what happened to Webb initially. Oh, he's going to get a big shove from behind from Cristelli here.
Yeah. And then Don Lee, I'm looking at him right now too. Oh, he came out of Canada normal, and then I don't think Aaron Webb knew he was going to be coming that quick. So when Aaron Webb tried to get going straight, Don Lee had already picked his direction and couldn't yank it back. So tough break.
Yeah,
kind of a needless.
After that,
yeah, kind of a needless break too, because that's a destroyed race car.
His day is done with still 11 minutes on the clock. Going back to 11th, Matt has pulled away from Edwards now, and it's a two-car race between Thurman and Edwards. This is for P11. So let's stay with this battle, but I'm looking at the leaders, and David Holland has got command of this thing. It's 4 seconds between Holland and Seitz ever since the pit stops. The 74 has no response to the 18th. Canada corner one more time. Still Thurman not able to try and attack. This is our closest fight on the track right now. Slipstream has proved very, very effective running up the hill. So can Thurman use this here today? The 69 starts to gain. 26 can't do much here. Is he going to cover off? He's electing not to. He leaves the door open. Thurman takes a look, but Thurman doesn't have the speed.
Yeah, I think Edwards kind of knew that that was going to be even late, even for a dive bomb, which I wouldn't expect Brett Thurman to do, but it would have, Armando Edwards did the smart thing there, not even trying to react to that. He had a good position.
This one's much closer.
Yeah, now you got to react to that.
Yeah. So what can Thurman do here? As they come down to the braking zone, almost squeezes him to the inside there. They stay wheel to wheel, and it's a drag race up the hill to turn 6. Still going to be the outside for Edwards. Or excuse me, for Thurman. Off track a little while, but Thurman gathers it back up, loses time. It got a little rough there through turn 6.
Yeah, that was the slightest bit of contact. Could have been so much worse right there, but thankfully they got away from it. Now Brett Thurman will fall under attack here from James David, at least for the moment. And hey, Joe, P7 heating up here. Pisano and Delp are Delp's almost right underneath his rear wing going through Canada.
Yep, these two have been closing down on one another. Delp was about half a second back just 2 laps ago. Now down to 0.2 of a second onto the front stretch. Pisano's going to be under threat. The number 58 riding right in the tire tracks as we look from the gearbox from Pisano. He drifts over down to the inside, makes it clear which way he needs Delp to go. Delp obliges. They come up to the braking zone, though, and Delp doesn't have a nose ahead. This is going to be very difficult to execute. He brakes early. Has another little peek down into 3. Back onto the racing line once again. And here we go. A second bite of the apple now, Adam.
Yeah, now it becomes a draft battle going down the moraine sweep here. A little bit of a lap car there. That was David Herbert. And now Delp is going to have a look at least on the outside as we go to turn 5. Brakes a little late. He's going to put the pressure on going through turn 5.
Wow.
And he gets that pass done on the outside.
Pisano took a little bit of a look into 6, but there's nothing doing there. Man, that was beautiful from Delp. That was the pass of the race for me.
And they've been gaining,
Nick.
Even with those two racing, they've been gaining on Lionel DePratt here too. So he knows he's still got a chance at 6 at this thing. But of course the clock's starting to tick down, so he's got to get after it.
Yeah, with like 7 minutes left to go. And just ahead of them, you know, I mentioned Santana trying to gain on Day. Well, Day has responded. It's gone up to about 4.5 seconds, so Raymond's not looking under threat like he was before.
Yeah, Santana kind of had some bad luck catching some lap cars in bad places, and that didn't help. But also, Day has just simply been faster by a couple tenths in some cases. So that's at this point, I think that's settled. I think Santana is going to have what he's going to have.
Then back down to 19th because Aaron Webb is still being challenged by Cristelli and Gore. These are drivers that are on the tail end of the lead lap right now, but still fiercely contested. You can't discount how much these drivers want to outdo one another. Here we go. Cristelli, he's got the momentum. And now he's got the inside, but he doesn't have the braking as they try to gather it up.
Webb's
and
around
Webb
again.
Spins it.
This is the same spot it happened earlier. He's a little bit more... Okay, he's got a lot more room here to get back on track.
He carried it hot in and just... Yeah, that rear was going around. Cristelli says, thank you very much. I'll take P19. Webb still keeps it going despite all of his dramas today. The only drivers that have not been able to keep it going are Don Lee, James LeBlanc, Sebastian Prue, and Jeff Jacobson. They have all retired from this race. Checking out Pisano now, who's still trying to keep up with Delp after that pass. It's increased to about a 9/10 of a second gap, so that doesn't bode well for Pisano.
Yeah, Pisano right now. Yeah, Pisano right now wants to see Delp get up to DePratt and maybe start racing him a few corners side by side and get right back into it. But outside of that, I think Pisano's fallen off here more than what he was hoping. They're only going to get what about their 2 or 3 laps here.
Yeah, I think it's going to be 3 laps since our leaders are already crossing the start-finish line by now. These 2 should be getting there any moment. But if you're a Lionel Duprat, you got to be sweating a little bit because he is surely aware that Delp has been chopping away. And now he can look in his mirrors and actually see that purple machine. If they come up towards turn 1, Delp shouldn't get a chance this time, but coming down to turn 5, it'll definitely be on.
That last time by, Delp was faster than Santana, than Day, than Serow. Yeah, going actually, he was almost as fast as your leader, David Holland, that last time by.
And he qualified 13th, so clearly he had something in reserve, and he's going to get to the inside. Just a half-hearted cover-off from Lionel Duprat. Certainly. Oh, and is he going to be boxed in? Oh, he'll be let through. Delp may have lifted there. Oh, but he comes back at him. He's laid on the brakes. Absolutely mighty. It's not quite done. It's a drag race up to 6 yet again, but Delp's not willing to try and take that one.
Yeah, I don't think Delp felt confident there and wisely backed out of it. Knows that right now he has the speed. That was nice. And look what I was talking about. That allowed Pisano to get right back into this thing.
Don't need to go to it, but fans of Paul Wildridge, he just had an accident coming out of the final turn. He's done for the day as he's limping the car back into pit lane. On board with Pisano, watching the fight for 6.
And Delp just not able to get the run that he was hoping through kettle bottoms this time. But, man, I tell you what, I don't think I've seen anybody as good on the brakes today as what I've seen with Delp. That is so hard to do what he's doing with an F3 car, and he's got it figured out.
Certainly seems to have some magic toes down there. In the meantime, we are 2 laps to go. I watched Holland cross the line and kept it with the clock, so he's going to get the white flag next time by. There you see our leader there on screen. Hasn't been much reason to go and look at him for a while. Let's get back to that battle for
Pisano's trying to do something. Oh, there goes Delp. Maybe he'll get another one here on the outside. I think that was more to seal off Pisano than anything else.
I didn't want Pisano to be able to attack him there into 1. What about out of turn 3 now? They start to pick up speed, 130 miles an hour. Down the Moraine sweep, weaving now as Lionel Duprat is getting desperate to try and keep Delp behind.
Oh, right now he knows that if Delp gets by him, Pisano's likely to follow. So, doesn't get the best exit. Delp actually has to take evasive action, and I thought Pisano might try to come back on him. Actually, Pisano almost does, almost gets into the left rear tire of Delp, but is able to stay out of him. That gives Duprat the kind of room he needs, at least for the moment.
I think they actually did touch. Delp has to go defensive down through the hurry downs. Pisano can't get it done. This is a boon for Lionel Duprat for sure, who did not look quicker than Nicholas for a number of laps now. And they're only going to have one to go.
Yeah, in fact, David Holland right now coming up, taking the white flag, Joe.
You see on screen, white flag being waved for the number 18. And I think Delp's going to get past as Pisano, just can't quite get it done. He was to the outside of Canada corner, applying a ton of pressure now to the 58. Both of them using as much track as possible. Wheels in the dirt for Anthony unfortunately cost him a little.
And Duprat is loving it. He's loving what he's seeing in his rearview mirror because that means he has a pretty good chance of holding on to 6 here.
Anthony's got the inside, the 255. Can he seal the deal? Yes, he can. Nicholas Delp now falls to 8th in that. So is Pisano faster or fast enough to try and catch Duprat? And can he hold off Delp? Because Delp is not going to take that one line down. In fact, he's already going to get a nice draft down the Moraine sweep. He gets to the outside, wheel-to-wheel action into turn 5 as it's been all day long. And showing that skill on the brakes, Nicholas Delp, with the skills evaded him this time as he goes off track.
Still close enough to mount a charge. But our leader, David Holland, now going through the Kettle Bottoms and heading to Canada. This thing's almost over. His time's running out to make a move.
Absolutely. Lap traffic up in front of Holland, who we ride on board with, is Hall and Blackwood. Shouldn't provide any sort of drama for him. Sights at 3.5 seconds back. He is not a worry at all for the number 18. Up the hill, victory for 3 out of 3. David Holland wins today here at Road America. Sights is going to follow him home in second, and Sirwa finishes in third. Where is that battle between Pisano, Delp, and Duprat? Delp might be able to slingshot by. If he gets a good launch, Duprat is definitely out of range. He's got 6 locked down here.
Oh, he had a bad entry into 14. I think that cost him his chance.
Just starts to gain as they come to the line, and it's not enough. Delp holds him back. Or excuse me, Pisano holds Delp back just behind them. Let's see if we have any other battles. Edwards fends off David successfully.
Ooh, Strikeheart was able to get around Clenard this lap. Clenard has a good run coming out of 14. Will he have enough time to get up?
So right on board. It's going to be close. He's got the momentum, but it's not enough. About half a car length. Christopher Richards, poor guy. I think, is he out of fuel? He suddenly found himself spun as a bunch of cars go by and had to go away for that battle to the line.
There was a couple of guys there that seemed like they might have been having some trouble.
And that's out of the last turn. Who is that on screen?
Is that Webb?
There's someone already off there.
Oh, he runs into the back of the disabled Andy Spicer.
Watch on board. Club West driver, just was not expecting him to be that slow and absolutely went over top of him. Well, we're going to go to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, but stick around because on screen, you'll see all the upcoming races here on GSRC. Welcome back to Road America. We just watched round 3 in the PRL F3 series. David Holland took the win after starting on the outside of the front row. He hid behind Greg Seitz for a brief while before he got ahead, and then once he broke the draft with the pit stops, he was gone. Seitz has got to be scratching his head a little bit from that. He knows he's got to do some more to try and figure out how to beat this guy. David Sroir finished in 3rd with Raymond Day in 4th. And you've got Kevin Santana in P5. A great recovery from his compromised qualifying 14th to 5th. And Lionel Duprat finishing P6. Anthony Pisano with a 7th was in a fight with Nick Delp all the way to the line, who took 8th. Andrew Duffy was 9th and Jean-Francois Matt in 10th.
Yeah, looking in 11th place on back, you'll find Armando Edwards and James David taking up 11th and 12th. Brett Thurman in 13th. Kyle Streichardt in 14th position. Rod Clenard, who had himself a good run going, ran into some trouble, though, on pit road. Still interested to find out what happened there. 15th position for him. Owen McLaughlin in 16th. Jay Felton in 17th. David Cristelli in 18th position. 19th to be Tyler Gore, and then 20th to lead in Aaron Webb. He, despite his struggles, still managed to end up on the lead lap.
Leave Aaron Webb, I'm seeing 21st here. Regardless, Jay Steffi 22nd, David Blackwood 23rd, and then Matthew Hill 24th. Everybody from there on down was a lap down. Bad days for them, and a few DNFs throughout the field. Not as many as you could have expected, though, thankfully. In the meantime, we've caught up with our race winner, David Holland. David, you hung out behind Greg Seitz a little bit at the very start, and then you made a decisive move and took the lead away, and from there never handed it back. So at first we saw you lift a little bit on one of the straights and early, and we thought that maybe you'd save a little fuel. And then, well, you passing kind of threw that theory out the window. So what was really going on? Was there a plan? Was there no plan?
Hey, Joe. Yeah, there was a little bit of a plan there. So the setup we were running tonight, it really took, a good 4 or 5 laps before it even felt comfortable under you. So I was just trying to keep up there at the beginning. And then I really didn't want to pass on the front straight like that, just because then you have that long downhill run right after. But I wasn't really able to get a good enough run out of turn 2 to make the downhill one work, which is where I really would have liked to pass. So I got a good run on the front straight and just decided to go with it there, and I managed to keep it in front of him there on the back straight. I think he was trying to kind of feel it out a little bit too and be kind of strategic with the passing, but I ended up pulling away, and yeah, he still kept the pressure on the whole race. There was not a lot of breathing room.
At least kept you honest, but still you've had the measure of him. This is your 3rd win out of 3 races. Now on the roadside, we've seen a straight flush, if you will, where we've had a driver win every single race. Think you could do that here on the F3 side?
Oh, I might have had a shot until you just said it, but we'll see.
Sorry, I guess it's a no-hitter thing, right?
Yeah. No, this is a great group of drivers. It's close, and I'm giving it everything I have. I'm not leaving anything on the table. So, yeah, it just takes one mistake, and there's some strategy at play here with the new tire model. I was really debating taking tires this week, but I didn't. I think Greg did, and he definitely closed the gap up there in the second half after the pit stop. So, no, I don't think that it's going to be nearly that easy. I think we're going to have to fight for each one of these.
A little birdie in my ear is saying that you've had a new arrival at your house. Is this correct?
Oh man. Well, not yet. No.
Okay.
We are expecting, though. Yeah, in July we're going to be having our first kid. So me and my wife are really excited about it. It's going to be a game changer. I might have to take some time off from the old sim racing, but we're definitely excited.
Well, congrats then, regardless. And yeah, maybe that was everybody else's plan all along. They wanted to see you guys have one in the oven, and that'll give them a chance to win. But congratulations, regardless.
Thanks. I appreciate it, guys. As always, got to thank the guys at PRL for organizing this, and Ninja Trader for sponsoring. You guys for broadcasting. My wife for being a good sport about it. She loves the broadcast, always watches. And yeah, Vantage Esports and all the guys there. It looks like everyone pretty much had a good run tonight. unfortunate. I think Rod got hit with a speeding penalty, but everyone else brought it home up pretty nicely. So yeah, thanks again, guys. Appreciate it.
That was our winner, David Holland. We're still trying to figure out what happened to Rod ourselves. We didn't think a speeding penalty, but maybe Greg Seitz can shed some light on his race. Adam has caught up with him.
Yeah, Greg. Hey, great run out there here today, but still coming home in the bridesmaid position.
Yeah, story of my life.
Well, either way, though, I mean, it's still a different weight class than the rest of the field, though. So we were expecting a pretty close battle. I mean, you and Holland were pretty close in practice times and qualifying times, but still second place, not so bad. Good points day for you.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad. David definitely was a better driver today. He's been wiping the floor with me during the official races this week, so I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised to finally find some pace. I went with a higher downforce, obviously, than him because he was gaining quite a bit on the straightaways. So yeah, that I think actually helped me. I probably would have been worse off without that, but yeah, I'm pretty happy with where things turned out.
Well, good deal. Of course, we go to Road Atlanta next week. Totally different kind of facility. Are you going to be able to? Are you going to have anything there for David?
I don't know. I haven't driven this car there, but I was definitely a very strong track for me in Skippy. So hopefully that'll translate over. I was disappointed that we didn't do Barcelona because I was actually had better pace than him there. So I missed out on a good opportunity on that one.
Well, that's the way it works out sometimes. I mean, I get that. That's for sure. Hey, anybody you'd like to thank here real quick?
Yeah, you guys for the broadcast and PRL, as well as my teammate Daniel Cranefus. So yeah, it was a great race. I did kind of blow it in my pit stop. I don't know if you guys noticed, but being in the number one pit box, I actually left the pits with the pit limiter on, which wasn't such a great idea. So I lost some good time there.
hey, you're not I'm the guy that went ahead and came down pit road thinking the checkered flag had already come out one time. So there's that. Hey, anyway, Greg, great talking with you, and hopefully we get to talk to you next week.
Yeah, thanks again, guys.
Second place finisher Greg Seitz, who obviously knew a little bit coming in that he was a little outmatched today, but like we said, he at least kept him honest. But we're going to close out. Before we go, a big thank you needs to go to our sponsor for this season. If you want to, again, check out Ninja Trader at ninjatrader.com. Also, a thank you to the iRacing Esports Network for putting us on here. If you want to subscribe, it's very easy. Just click the big red button that says subscribe. Thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast. They're listed here on your screen. And additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Adam, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check out our social media. Our Twitter is @GSR Channel. Facebook is Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram is GSRC_Graham. Next race is going to be Road Atlanta. That'll be Thursday, January 16th at 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. You'll definitely want to tune in come Saturday because we're going to be announcing the winners for our giveaway that we were talking about earlier. So make sure and tune in, find out if you won or not. You could have some gear coming your way. And we've also got the Lionheart coming up pretty soon with a special all-star race in a few weeks. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.